Hey folks, BrickSidious here, back with another Star Wars review. The Mandalorian and Grogu released this weekend, of course, and there's been plenty of reviews online. Like, I didn't have high expectations, given the track record of Disney Star Wars, and I watched some of the reviews like Red Letter Media, Critical Drinker, etc. on YouTube, and they blasted the movie pretty bad. So I had low expectations. I actually wasn't planning on seeing it. Just wait till Disney Plus, but my family expressed some interest. So I'm like, why not? Don't know how well this film is going to do. It wasn't marketed as like a tentpole, like major Skywalker saga, epic, but and maybe that shows you like we decided like 2 hours before the film, the film started, like, oh, let's see what's available on the theaters, and there were seats, on opening weekend. So, but we'll see if it kind of meets the financial goals. I excuse me. Like, I think the critics are being way too harsh on this movie, and I'm fair, and like I'm a dedicated Star Wars fan with high expectations, but this is meant for to be like a intro to Star Wars thing for normies and casual fans. A summer popcorn movie that where you don't have to think too much. There's not like palace intrigue and betrayals and subverting your expectations like some of the other more complex films, and that's totally fine, right? You like part of Star Wars is just the simple to understand plots and action and kind of some laughs and the escapism. So that for the if that was the stated goal of this movie, I think it accomplished that. Even in the theater I was in, folks were clapping at the end. So they're not morons. Like fans can their opinion speaks for themselves. And yeah, and I know kind of voices on the internet, they have to say they either love something or hate something to get clicks and whatnot. But if these other Star Wars or movie critics like really hated it, I I can understand. I guess I don't know what they were expecting to be much better, but because even the Mando's a pretty simple character. You went through his his motivation, his arc, like his backstory, all in the series already, the Disney Plus series. So I don't think you're going to uncover any new secrets about him or some new character out of his past or whatnot. This is supposed to be just a follow up adventure of. One thing is just kind of weird that, like, as the Disney Plus Mando series concluded, I thought it was a nice ending. The Mando and Grogu are on the homestead, the kind of retired or I mean, yeah, freelance bounty hunting, but out of Imperial danger, hopefully, and that was a nice ending. But sure, they want another Hollywood film to make some money and whatnot. But also, I think the film came way too late. Like, I know, when Mando season 1 came out, like during the pandemic, everyone was at home streaming a lot, and it was like a real cultural phenomenon, right? People were making memes about it, a lot of merch, a lot of like normies were talking about Baby Yoda and stuff. It was like cool to like Star Wars, and of course that gradually faded. Like the last season of Mando was panned pretty badly. Like, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. Not disappointing in some ways, but not a disaster. But I can't remember what year the Mando series ended, but it's been 7 years since the last Star Wars feature film, and I think kind of Disney missed the boat and lost the momentum here and the interest. Like, if this Mando movie came out in 2024, I think it would have. It would have been more popular, and I think people would have been more charitable, give it the benefit of the doubt and whatnot. I mean, the movie didn't have any fatal flaws or anything. Like one, just my personal view is yeah, about 20-30 minutes too long. Some repetitive or unnecessary action scenes. Yeah, all the alien creatures and stuff. After the first few were kind of cool, but then it just got like too much. Right, it's not adding much to the experience. There isn't really acting, right? Like half of the characters are CG or like alien creatures, and Mando's behind his mask. He doesn't he doesn't have much of like acting beyond body language, and Baby Yoda does his job, but he's also kind of, how do you say, limited in that he's an infant and can only do so much interaction with other characters. So yeah, we're not expecting like Gone with the Wind here, just a simple summer story, and that's it. Yeah, no Jedi here, no Sith. It's just like bounty hunting, trying to capture some Imperial remnants, and and kind of running up with the world of shady gangsters and unsavory figures, and Mando beats them up, and it's good. There's clearly good characters, there's clearly evil characters, and they do their jobs, and I think justice is served in the end, and all the characters kind of check those boxes and fill their roles. So it's for casual fans, it would be satisfying. I mean, if you've never seen any Star Wars up to this point, like younger kids or something, I think you could generally follow along what was going on, and there's context cues and things like that, and it might motivate some of the folks to invest in and watch the Mando series. So, in that sense, I hope it creates some more fans. I mean, like I talked about in previous videos, that I think the Lego sets based on this movie are overpriced and disappointing. But the movie itself, yeah, is entertaining. You have the the kind of comic relief or cute, interesting moments with Grogu and then the little mechanic, Babu Freak mechanic guys. Mando was heroic, and yeah, he and Grogu take turns helping each other, which is heartwarming. And Rada the Hutt, yeah, that's an interesting one. Spoilers included, of course, but. I think it's cool how Jabba, only spoke in his Huttese language, and it made him look more foreign and kind of scary and mysterious. That like Rada is speaking like American English with like a Joe Schmo accent from Ohio or something. It's a little weird. Like maybe it would have been cooler. Okay, if he wants to speak English, but like have an accent or something. It just felt weird, and like Rada the Hutt's face was more anthropomorphized. I thought like it kind of looked like a wrinkly human, which was also weird. Like I thought the twins, his uncle and aunt, like from the Clone Wars series, they looked a lot more Hutt-like, and they would barely speak English, or they had that kind of like English as a second language kind of accent, and that made them scarier. But Rada was just like a schlub. I mean, he's strong and he beats people up, but the voice kind of something wasn't right there. And then yeah, I mean, people were like panning Sigourney Weaver's involvement in the film, that like she seemed checked out, or like it could have been just any random actress being that role. Yeah, I don't know. Like she must have been expensive to hire, and maybe Filoni's friends with her or something like that. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's kind of ludicrous that she's some sort of high-ranking officer, like head of that base, and she's leading a fighter squadron to rescue Mando. Also, yeah, Filoni shoehorning himself in there as a rebel pilot or something with his cowboy hat. That was kind of lame. If you could have added folks for cameos for sure, but like yeah, maybe something that would have surprised people and like caught the younger fans' interest, like even like a social media influencer like Timothy Chalamet, or well, of course Taylor Swift's way too expensive, but something like that would have been definitely got a lot of buzz. Other than that, yeah, like just some of the creatures, just looking, they looked so obviously CG and dark, always like these dark colors, all the dungeons and whatnot are, everything in Disney Star Wars is muted colors, dark, like same thing with their live action remakes like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid. I don't like that visual style. It's, it's just, I don't know what more to say, but yeah, so just the slimy creatures and alien fights, they got a bit old, like maybe, you can have 5 different species of aliens in the film and folks will remember it. But now, you go up to like, there must have been like 20 different alien monsters, right, that Mando and Grogu encounter and fight, and it just gets forgettable after that. Like, yeah, sure, they're going to survive, they like, stabbing with a spear and shooting, or like, putting a thermal detonator down their throat or something, it's all been done before. So, there's nothing wrong with it, but it was just like, kind of made the movie drag on a little. And yeah, let's see, Embo, the other, I like that, the kind of, when it's bounty hunter versus bounty hunter, and maybe they have different styles, or Mando has more honor, and the other guy's like, I'll cut any corner or do whatever it takes to get my bounty. They could have built on that a little bit. I mean, I don't know if like Embo doesn't speak English or something, like, they obviously they weren't communicating like, so and maybe they don't have a prior relationship, so it wouldn't be worth it for Disney to film dialogue between them. But that was a little limiting. And then yeah, other than that, not too much else to say. I was entertained in it. I think the movie would have been fine even if they rescue Rada, and he goes on the transport to go into hiding or whatnot, and then yeah, he gets intercepted by the twins, and and Mando also gets incapacitated or something by the bounty hunter, and then the Rebel Alliance and Grogu have to save them all. Like turns the tables a little bit, like the child saving dad. That would have been fine, and then the movie would have been like an hour 30, right, an hour 40. Um, People like Red Letter Media said they hated the healing, the Mando recovering from his injuries scene in the forest. But a lot of films do that, kind of like Rocky 4, like as he's training to fight Ivan Drago, and the Yojimbo, like Kurosawa, or the Clint Eastwood version, like for a few dollars more, where he's a gun for hire, and he gets beaten up, and then he has to heal and then take revenge on the bad guys. Um, and it kind of it developed the Grogu and Mando's relationship there a little more, where Grogu got to be independent and try to get help for Mando, and made a new friend with that swamp creature. Yeah, I thought that was nice. So some other criticisms I've heard online is like, the whole movie felt lazy or predictable, of just like, here's some action scenes, it's not clever or anything. But again, Star Wars has had dozens and dozens of hours of product already. It's pretty hard to think of something totally original. And that's just, this crew, Filoni, Favreau, Kennedy, whatnot, I don't think they're the type to have those skills, right? They just are good with simple storylines, interesting, enjoyable characters, and then paying homage to Star Wars of the past. And I don't think we can expect more of them from, more than that. Now, if Lucasfilm and Star Wars are thinking of the next trilogy epic, some sort of major storyline, like bringing back the Jedi Order, facing some new threat, or like I've told this, not online, but told this to friends, of like, I would have liked to see how like X-Men had done this, where the Jedi and Sith may need to have a temporary alliance to face an even bigger threat, something new that we haven't seen before. And of course, yeah, so you're always worried about the suspicion of like these two enemies, or the first chance they get, they're going to try to wipe out the other side. And there's a lot you could do there, but that's a big, that's taking big risks and trying to make it epic and stuff. I don't know if Disney Star Wars has it in them at this point. So yeah, let me wrap up here, but just saying, people are they need to give this movie a break. I think sure, you don't have to watch it if you're not interested, and it is what it is, like a simple sci-fi story for popcorn consumption, but it got the job done. It wasn't a total disaster or a travesty like Acolyte, or or Solo, or definitely episodes 8 or 9. So yeah, so that's all I had to say, and thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.